Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa Rudikacharya Ashtotra Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parudikacharya Ashtotra to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Shri Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. Ganga Mahi Ki Jai. Yamuna Mahi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Narayana Namaskritya Narang Chaiv Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jai Mudiriyet. Before reciting the srimadbhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and to Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyuttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Jamal. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 4th day of May, 2019 in SanDiego, we're reading from srimadbhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 12, Dhruva Maharaj Goes Back to Godhead, text number 20. Tatranu Deva Pravarao Chatubhujao Shyamao Kishorav Anunam Bhujekshanao Stithav Avashtabhya Gadam Subhasasao Kirita Harangada Charu Kundalao Tatranudeva Pavarao Chatubhujao Shyamam Kishorav Arunam Bhujekshanao Stitavavashtam Yagadam Suvasasao Kirita Harangadacharu Kundalao Tatranudeva Pavarao Chatubhujao Shyama Kishorav Arunam Bhujekshanao Stitavavashtam Yagadam Suvasasao Kiritaharang Gadacharu Kundalao. Hold on one second.
Third line on the last word.
Oh.
Is there missing something there on the board?
Stitavavashtabigadam Suvasasao. Third line?
Yeah. Oh yeah. At the very end. That's the
Suvasasao. There's an A. Yeah, it should be ow. It's all dual. Yeah, there's an A missing. Suvasasao. A-U. Yeah. Go ahead, Raj. Tatranudeva Pavarao Chatubhujao Shyamao Kishorav Arunam Bhujekshanao Sitavavashtam Yagadam Subhasasao Kirita Harang Gadacharu Kundalao Tatranudeva Pavarao Chatubhujao Shyamao Kishorav Arunam Bhujekshanao Sitavastabhya Gadam Avasado Kirita Harang Gadacharu Kundalao Tatranudeva Pavarao Chatubhujao Shyamao Kishorav Arunam Bhujekshanao Stitavavashtam Yagadam Subhasasao Kirita Harang Gadacharu Kundalao Tatranudeva Pavarao Chatubhujao Shyamao Kishorav Arunam Bhujekshanao Stitavavashtam Yagadam Suvasasao Kirita Harang Gadacharu Kundala. No? Tatranudeva Pavarao Chatubhujao Shyamao Kishorav Arunam Bhujekshanao Sitavavashtam Yagadam Suvasasao Kirita Harang Gadacharu Kundala. Not today. Tatra, there. Anu, then. Deva Pavarao
two very beautiful demigods. Chatubhujao, with 4 arms. Shyamal, blackish. Kishoral, quite young. Aruna, reddish. Ambuja, lotus flower. Ikshanao, with eyes. Stitao, situated. Avashtabhya, holding. Kadam, clubs. Subhasasal, with nice garments. Kirita, helmets. Hara, necklaces. Angada, bracelets. Charu, beautiful. Kundalao, with earrings. Translation. Dhruva Maharaj saw 2 very beautiful associates of Lord Vishnu in the airplane. They had 4 hands and a blackish bodily luster. They were very youthful, and their eyes were just like reddish lotus flowers. They held clubs in their hands, and they were dressed in very attractive garments with helmets and were decorated with necklaces, bracelets, and earrings. Purport. The inhabitants of Vishnu Loka are of the same bodily feature as Lord Vishnu, and they also hold club, conch shell, lotus flower, and disc. In this verse, it is distinctly stated that they had 4 hands and were nicely dressed. The description of their bodily decorations corresponds exactly to that of Vishnu. So the 2 uncommon personalities who descended from the airplane came directly from Vishnu Loka, or the planet where Lord Vishnu lives. I'm going to read one more. Maybe those who have devices can respond. Vigyayatav uttamagaya kinkarav abhyutita san vasavismatakrama nanama nama nigwanan madudvisha parshat padhanav iti sanghatanjalihi. Dhruva Maharaj, seeing that these uncommon personalities were direct servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, immediately stood up. But, being puzzled, in hastiness, he forgot how to receive them in the proper way. Therefore he simply offered obeisances with folded hands and chanted and glorified the holy names of the Lord. Purport. Chanting of the holy names of the Lord is perfect in every way. When Dhruva Maharaj saw the Vishnu Dutas, the direct associates of Lord Vishnu, 4-handed and nicely decorated, he could understand who they were, but for the time being he was puzzled. But simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna mantra, he could satisfy the uncommon guests who had all of a sudden arrived before him. The chanting of the holy name of the Lord is perfect. Even though one does not know how to please Lord Vishnu or his associates, simply by sincerely chanting the holy name of the Lord, everything becomes perfect. A devotee, therefore, either in danger or in happiness, constantly chants the Hare Krishna mantra. When he is in danger, he is immediately relieved. And when he is in a position to see Lord Vishnu or his associates directly, by chanting this Mahamantra, he can please the Lord. This is the absolute nature of the Mahamantra. Either in danger or in happiness, it can be chanted without limitation. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this chapter is entitled Dhruva Maharaj Goes Back to Godhead. And it is the culmination of these chapters describing Dhruva Maharaj's adventure, if you will, his wonderful pastime of determinedly going out into the forest in search of God in order to, he had a completely material motivation at that point, in order to get a kingdom greater than his great-grandfather's, Brahma. And he met Narada Muni. Narada Muni always comes just at the right time and the right candidate to bestow bhakti. Narada Muni is one of the Shaktya Vaishya avatars is described, these Shakti-based avatars, they're invested with a certain Shakti or potency from the Lord. And they kind of specialize. Narada Muni is invested with the Bhakti Shakti. And the Kumaras, for instance, are invested with the Jnana Shakti. And Maharaj Prithu with the Pala Shakti. Pala means to protect, as in Gopala. It's a Shakti of to be a perfect king, like that. So Narada Muni, and he appears in every canto, perhaps most prominent of all the Mahajans in terms of his preaching activities in the Bhagavatam. And he always says exactly the right thing for the right candidate in order to bring them along in devotional service. So for Dhruva, he first tested him and to see whether his determination was as staunch as his name would allow. His name means fixed. Dhruva means fixed. And he found that it was. Dhruva Maharaj, at first Narada Muni was saying, you're so young, you're 5 years old, go back home, and when you're mature, I'll teach you all about yoga, and you'll get like that. So Dhruva Maharaj demurred, and he said, no, thank you very much, O great sage, but I'm determined to go find God in the forest. So Narada Muni gave him a process that was suitable for the age, Satya Yuga, a lot of meditation, but it really centered on the chanting of the holy name. He was meant to meditate on this mantra that we all know at the beginning of each Bhagavatam class, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and that contains, of course, the holy name of Krishna, Vasudev. And that was part of his process. He was meditating on the Lord within the heart, he was doing rudimentary deity worship, and he was performing severe austerities, which kind of make your hair stand on end when you really contemplate it. But the essence of it was that he was becoming completely purified by all those processes, especially the deity worship, meditation on the Lord, and the chanting of the holy name. So famously, when after a few months, which is really extraordinary, it was like 6 months, I think, that he got darshan of the Lord, of Vishnu. He was so powerful, he was decreasing his, he had already stopped eating and drinking, but he was just breathing and living by breathing and meditating. Was he standing on one leg? I forget. But he was doing plenty of austerities and just decreasing his frequency of breathing even to the point where he had entrained the universal breathing, and the demigods were feeling suffocated and they appealed to Vishnu to please do something. And so he comes down and he appears before Dhruva on the Garuda with his forearms, very effulgent and blissful, aspect and everything. So Dhruva's meditating, and then meditation breaks, he opens his eyes, and there's Vishnu. And it describes his ecstasy at that point. He'd completely forgotten all about the kingdom. And he was just rolling and crying, and all of his senses were consuming the Lord. It was just an amazing description. And then he wants to offer prayers, but just like Prahlad Maharaj, he was just a young boy, hadn't studied much Sanskrit, but he was touched on the forehead, I believe, by the conch, and that gave him the power to offer these beautiful prayers. And the most famous prayer actually isn't in the Bhagavatam; it's in the Hari Bhakti Sudhodaya, which means the flood, the uprising of a flood of nectar about Hari. That's what that name is, Hari Bhakti, Bhakti, of devotional service to Hari. So it's full of all kinds of wonderful verses, sometimes quoted. And so this one, it's a perfect summary of how his desire had been transformed. He's describing his state of mind at that time. So he says, Sthana Bilashi tapasi stitoham tvam praptavan devamanindra guhyam. He's speaking directly to Vishnu here. Kacham vichinvan abhidivyaratnam svaman katatos mivaran niyache. So he says, I was situated in extreme austerity in order to attain a position, sthana, greater than my great-grandfathers in Brahma. In other words, a very exalted kingdom. That was my idea. But now I've attained you, O Lord, Tvam Praptavan, who even the greatest of the Devas, Deva Munin, the learned leaders of the demigods, they're hidden away from them. They can't get this kind of darshan. Deva Guyam. So now I realize that what I was aspiring for was kacha. Kacha is, imagine a Coke bottle breaking on the pavement here. That's kacha, what's left, the little pieces of glass or little pieces of pottery. The kingdom I was looking for, I regard now as no more valuable than that. In other words, insignificant. Because I've gotten the divine jewel of your darshan, divya ratnam. Kacham vachinman abhidivya ratnam, svaman katatosmi varanyache. Oh my Lord, I don't want anything else. I have no other desires, simply to serve you. And in the Bhagavatam, there's one prayer. He has a set of prayers, and I memorized one of them, which just struck me. What is his desire? Because when you come before the Lord, you should really offer prayers. This should be prayers, and prayers have multiple aspects. This word vandanam, amongst the 9 processes of devotional service, one of them is vandanam. So vandanam has it's multifaceted. Vandanam means prayer, but we also bow down. Vandeham Shri Guru. So how does that work? There's bowing down, but there's also prayer. And if you study it, I did a seminar once a few years ago on Vandanam with Ramapad Maharaj in Chicago. And I was contemplating, different sets of prayers, Kunti's prayers and different prayers. And you always have, almost exclusively, without exception that I found, you have these 3 elements. You do have bowing down. That's often the first thing that happens. With Kunti's prayers, Namaste Purusham Tvadim, the first word is Namaste. Just like when you all come into the temple, that should be your first word. Namaham Vishnupadaya, bowing down. And in Kunti's prayers, the last word is also Namaste. If you study the last verse, she did like 20 verses or so. But then there's also glorification in there. You also glorify the Lord, or in case we glorify Tulsi, you study the Tulsi prayer that has all of these elements also. So you have the recognition of your position. And this, Namo Om, I'm just your servant, I'm supplicating. And then you have glorification. And then you have your actual request. All 3 of them are there. So what does Dhruva Maharaj want? He says what he doesn't want. He wants the darshan of the Lord, certainly, but he also wants this. Bhakti moho bhavahatam trahime pasango bhuyadananda mahatam amalashayanam yenanja sobana maruvasanam bhavamde neshe bhavad gunakatam tapana matta. It says, what I want, please, my dear Lord, is to have constant association of your pure devotees, in whose hearts the river, nectar river of pure devotion is always flowing. Pavahatam means a powerful flow, like the Ganges going into the ocean. Prasanga. Now this word prasanga appears again and again. In the Kapila Dev has it in prasanga. Of course, sangha means association. Prasanga means really meaningful association. It means strong attachment, and it means association for ardent hearing when you're associating with superior devotees, and hearing and chanting and for elevation. That's prasanga. So as I want to have this intense devotion, the association with these devotees. Bhakti Bhuvatama Devas Bhuyad Ananta Mahatam. He's addressing the Lord as Ananta, unlimited Lord. Amalashayanam, whose hearts are completely pure of all material desires. What's the result of that? So he's giving the first basic result. Because by this association, yena, by which yen anjasobana maruvasanam bhavamdim, I will easily cross over this dangerous ocean of birth and death, full of blazing fire-like dangers. Why? Because I'm becoming mad to hear and drink the nectar of talks about you. In other words, the devotees, they don't separately worry about liberation or mitigating the pains in this world. They focus on one thing, to cultivate their ardent desire to serve Krishna and the purity of heart through the process of devotional service. And everything else is taken care of. So this is what he's realizing. And he's saying that this world is full of these dangers, but I'll easily cross beyond it by bathing in this nectarian vibration that I'll be able to experience by associating with the pure devotees. And I remember when I was thinking about this class and others, I recalled a verse that it struck me when I first read it, way back in the second canto, at the end of the second chapter. The second chapter is called The Change of Heart. And at the end, there's, as there often are, these peon, there's a couple of verses glorifying hearing and chanting. So the last one is just like this. It calls to mind that verse I just mentioned about Dhruva, the prayer. And he says, Prabandhihe bhagavata atmanaksatam, katamatam shavanapotesha samvitam, punandihe vishayavadusha dashayam, vajanti tatcharanasodorohantikam. You can see why the Bhagavatam is said to be a desire tree, and it's become so sweet by the touch of Shukadev because of the poetry. So Prabandhi means to drink. Those devotees who are able to drink through the ears, through the ear holes, the nectar of Krishna Katha and be fully satisfied with that. Prabandhiye bhagavata atmanaksatam, because the Lord is so dear to them, like their very self. Katamatam shavanaputeshu sambritam. Sambritam means fully satisfied. Then they, punantihe vishayavadusha tashi, and they purify the polluted aim of life known as sense gratification. Vishayavadusha. Vishaya, it's not an accident that the word vishaya, which means sense pleasure, and visha, poison, are very close to each other. Vishaya and visha. Vishayavadusha, vidusha means contaminated. Ashaya means what's in your heart, your aspiration. So your heart becomes purified of the aspiration to enjoy senses, and it becomes completely satisfied with hearing the wonderful, sweet pastimes and qualities and name of the Lord. We'll get to the name in a minute because that's what the verse is about. And then what? They go, return to a place in the spiritual world nearby the lotus feet of Krishna. So that's exactly what's happening here, is that Dhruva Maharaj, who had become completely pure and just wanted to associate with devotees, then, because he had prayed for the kingdom, he had to have that kingdom for 36,000 years. And he met his duties, but he always kept up his remembrance of the Lord. And now, you'll see, he's going back to Godhead. So now, let's just switch gears a minute. And the subject of the second verse here is how he greeted them, right? Now, he was very ecstatic, obviously, to see them, but he says he was puzzled. Mean that puzzled, what's the word here? Sadvasa, vismata, he forgot. In other words, he's in ecstasy. And he's not so concerned about the formal greeting. But he just offered his, pranams like this, and he's chanting the holy name. And that's completely satisfying to them and appropriate. And that's the point of this nice purport here. Chanting the holy names of the Lord is perfect in every way. Now this is essential for us, because we have, as members of Kali Yuga, modern Kali Yuga, where do we have any opportunity or even the qualification or the adhikari to study the Vedas and gradually purify, become qualified to chant mantras? Forget it, But that's the great value of the Kali Yuga. Kali dosha nede rajanasya eka mahan ganan. This Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. We don't live very long. We're misguided. Even if you want to do some spiritual life, and 1 out of 10 million people is even interested in, is really thinking about ultimate questions and all these things. Your chances are you'll be misguided, therefore unfortunate and misguided. And there's always disturbances. ADHD. Everybody has a low-grade ADHD, and some people. It's just the nature, all of these electronic inputs going on, and the microwaves in the air and everything. Oh God! And yet, despite all of that, the holy name is so powerful. If you're willing to surrender to chanting and hearing, that immediately you get liberation. It clears out eons of lifetimes of bad karma. And if you do it in according to the instruction of a pure devotee or the representative of such, then you can very, very quickly begin to experience, not just understand, but experience some of the nectar of Krishna consciousness. And then to the degree that you do that, your desire for the lower things will be mitigated, will be erased. And so, in other words, there's an immediate opportunity. Even whoever takes to the chanting, without illiterate, doesn't matter. There's absolutely no Nam namaka nija sarva shakti tatra niyamitak smaranena kala. There's no niyama, there's no restrictions on who or when or how you can chant. Just chant and take it from there. And that was Prabhupada's, great genius, if you will. Just get them to chant somehow. If you read how Prabhupada started the movement, he's up there with Dr. Mishra, and he was able to go to the Ananda ashram and somehow, get them to chant a little bit, and going. I mean, he really didn't make too much substantial headway, till he got his own place. I mean, that makes sense. But still, he was beating that drum, up in the loft in the Bowery, and it was attractive. It was just the right time and place. I'm telling you, if Prabhupada had arrived a couple of years earlier, a couple of years later, but Krishna put him just the right place, the right time. And there was Mukunda Maharaj, the musician, spiritually minded, and these other early people who were attracted. Of course, Mukunda Maharaj did incredible service, but others were just helping. They were favorable. They became enough purified and attracted to Prabhupada, the source of this holy name and the power of the pure chanting, and that they were ready to help him enough to get him situated in Second Avenue. And once he had his own place, then he could gather a small group. The perfect title for that book, planting the seed. He's planting these seeds. Many of them didn't fructify, but a few did. Enough did to get the whole thing going. So when Dhruva saw the direct associates, he could understand they were who they were, but for the time being, he was puzzled. He was a little bit, the ecstasy and the surprise. So he simply chanted the holy name, and by that he could satisfy his uncommon guests. So Prabhupada says the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is perfect, even though one does not know how to please Lord Vishnu or associates. Simply by sincerely chanting the holy name of the Lord, everything becomes perfect. So this is really the engine of this movement. This is how Lord Chaitanya's mission is spreading all over. Because of the incredible power of the chanting, even chanted impurely and imperfectly, it's powerful enough to bring you into the association of devotees, to get you to really open that book you may have had for who knows how long on your shelf. In other words, it brings you a little bit to the next stage of sadhu sangha, the association, which is so important. And with the sadhu sangha comes more impetus for bhajana kriya, for chanting, and you're on your way, Then it's up to you how sincere and determined you want to be to move through and onto nivritti, get rid of all of the latent impurities that are dragging us down. But it keys on the chanting, and that's why it's so important. Sometimes, it just happens that our priorities become a little skewed. And instead of taking the opportunity for every kirtan and really, staying as long as you can and making arrangements where you can have, not just that once a year or twice a year you have, a week-long Maha Kirtan, those are great. But there has to be the daily commitment to the japa and the congregational chanting that keeps us purified and keeps us enthused in devotional service and gives us daily realizations, daily experience of the real nectar of Krishna consciousness. Chanting before the deities here, it's such a incredible blessing to have that, and really, the process of devotional service means understanding the urgency of the human form of life and taking advantage of all of the gifts we've been given by those who've come before us, especially Srila Prabhupada and the Parampara. But even those. Sometimes I just, you enter this temple and you think, wow, the amount of work and devotion that went into producing this. It took a year to create all this. I know some of the people from the Fate Museum. I was in L.A. earlier, and they'd spent years developing the skills, to be able to do this, and then to come down here and lead this, and it's such a gift. So that appreciation of other devotees' devotional service is an important part of devotional service itself, and realizing how thankful we should be. That was Dhruva's prayers. The bhakti muhu, let me have the association of great devotees so I can really stay in the river of nectar that is Krishna Katha and his pure devotion, and in this way become situated. So I wanted to leave a little time for, there is only a little time, really, for Gadadhar Pandit. I'm going to read something here that was compiled by our dear Godbrother Mahanidhi Swami. And there's also a book, I don't know if you know about this book, Obi Al Kapoor, The Associates of Lord Chaitanya. I may read something, be a little something from there. It's really a book, The Companions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So many nectarian books coming out. But this is a summary of Gadadhar Pandit. Now, anyone who's a member of that Panchatattva is obviously at a very high position. So the fact that Gadadhar Pandit is there, and Srivas Thakur and Nityananda invited. Yeah, she knows. Yeah. You're not completely new, right? You know who the Panchatattva are? Okay, I'm sorry. But you knew the song, Jai Radha Madhava. Okay. The Panchatattva, Pancha means 5, Tattva means truth or entities, consists of, we have a picture of them there on the altar, Gaur Nitai altar. Lord Chaitanya and his first expansion, Nityananda, and his incarnation, Advaita, they're all Vishnu Tattva, meaning they're all God. And Srivas Thakur, who's actually an expansion of Narada Muni, he's a jiva, the pure devotee. And Gadadhar Pandit, who is the devotional energy, Ladani Shakti personified. So those 5, that's why we're meant to chant their names before Kirtan. That's why you hear Prabhupada's prayer. And then Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivas, and then Adi Gaur Bhaktabinda. That's part of it, and all of the other associates and of Lord Chaitanya. So Gadadhar Pandit, this is his appearance day. So we're going to read something here about his pastime. Sri Gaurhari had so much affection for Sri Gadadhar Pandit that he couldn't be without him for a moment. Lord Chaitanya appeared a year Gadadhar Pandit appeared a year after Lord Chaitanya. Gadai and Nimai, he was known as Gadai as a child, and Nimai were inseparable as childhood playmates. They were in the same school together, class. Peaceful, renounced, serious, self-composed, fond of solitude, Gadadhar proved quite a contrast to his bosom friend Gaur Rai, who was fickle, unsteady, and whimsical. And he was he was kind of playing the role of a pundit, and he would just he would find out ways in which they could defeat people in argument and stuff like that. That was his pastime at first. In Gangadas Pandit's school, Nimai Pandit regularly teased Gadadhar by challenging him with illogical questions. Sri Kavi Karnapur states that in Braj Leela, Gadadhar Pandit is the daughter of King Vishabhanu, Srimati Radharani. Gadadhar Pandit served as Lord Chaitanya's chief assistant during his Navadvip Leela. Shri Shri Radhakrishna in Vrindavan appear as Gaur Gadadhar to perform pastimes in Navadvip in the forest groves besides the Ganges. Now it's interesting that we always say Radhakrishna Lakshmi Narayan, but here it's Gaur Gadadhar. This is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. No one can describe the characteristics and ecstatic love of Gadadhar Pandit. Therefore, another name for Lord Chaitanya is Gadadhar Prananath, the life and soul of Gadadhar Pandit. One day, while wandering along the bank of the Ganges, Gaur Sundar entered a forest grove and sat in a meditative mood. Soon he became enraptured, remembering his Vrindavan pastimes. To enhance the Lord's mood, Mukundadat began singing sweet songs in a certain raga, Purva Raga. Shri Gadadhar made a garland of fragrant forest flowers and lovingly placed it around the Lord's beautiful neck. As Shri Radha used to dress Damodar in Vrindavan, similarly Gadadhar would adorn the radiant form of Lord Gauranga. He would also decorate Lord Chaitanya's bed and bedroom with sweet-smelling flowers. Every day he would make sandalwood paste to rub on Lord Chaitanya's transcendental body. Gaur Gadadhar sat on a root of a tree serving as a raised dais. So this is still that scene out there on the bank of the Ganges. Sri Nityananda Prabhu sat on Lord Chaitanya's right. Srivas Pandit decorated them with flowers. Sri Advaita Acharya offered arti. Narahari waved the chamara. Sound familiar? That's the Gaur Arti song. Shuklambar offered Chandan, and Murari Gupta sang the Lord's glories. Vijay, Mukunda, Purushottam, Madhava, and Vasudev Ghosh sang a variety of songs in different ragas. In this way, Lord Chaitanya performed his Nadia Lila. Gadadhar Pandit also took the renounced order of life and went to Jagannath Puri to be with Lord Chaitanya. So when Lord Chaitanya took sannyas and left Navadvip, Gadadhar was just completely devastated. So it couldn't have been very long before he followed him. Yeah, he came down, and he took what is called Chaitra sannyas, which means a vow to stay in one spot, completely renounced, and generally worship the deity. So he had this Tota Gopinath deity he was worshiping. So he served the deity of Tota Gopinath with full love and devotion. Regularly, Lord Chaitanya came to relish Gadadhar's Rasika reading of srimadbhagavatam. Means very realized, full of emotion. Lord Chaitanya concluded his manifest pastimes by entering the deity of Tota Gopinath. Although Gadadhar Pandit was barely 48, the same age as Lord Chaitanya, when the Lord departed, he quickly became old because of the intense anguish he felt in separation from his beloved Lord Gaurasundar. He hardly ate or drank anything. He couldn't stretch his arms to offer the garland. Eventually he couldn't lift, the Gopinath deity, just like they're standing there. So eventually he became old, he didn't have the strength. He couldn't stretch his arms to offer the garland to the deity. So understanding his servant's difficulty, Sri Tota Gopinath sat down to facilitate Gadadhar's loving service. To this day, I'm sorry? Yeah, the deity sat down. There's a lot of miraculous deity pastimes in Lord Chaitanya. We have the Shakshi Gopal and we have the Chirachora Gopinath. So, to this day, Tota Gopinath is the only sitting deity of Krishna. According to some authorities, a short time after Lord Chaitanya's disappearance, Gadadhar Pandit joined his eternal pastimes by entering his beloved deity of Tota Gopinath. So, let me just read one of the pastimes from here. So, okay, so this is his famous pastime of meeting Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Because he wasn't actually initiated, he wasn't initiated by Lord Chaitanya. They was just, but then he became initiated Pundarik Vidyanidhi. This is how he got initiation. Okay, so this is in Puri, and right? Is it Navadvip? I'm sorry. Okay, so this is before Lord Chaitanya took sannyas. One day Mahaprabhu began to weep and shriek aloud, Pundarik, Pundarik, where are you? I can no more bear your separation. I don't know when I shall be blessed by your darshan and my heart will be at peace. Gadadhar and the other devotees also began to weep to see him wailing like this. They said to him, Prabhu, Mahaprabhu, who is that fortunate devotee on account of whom you are so restless? So nobody knew him at that time. Mahaprabhu said, Pundarik Vidyanidhi is a rich devotee of Chattagram. There is no one in the three worlds who may compare with him in devotion. I cannot live without his darshan. Soon after that, one day Pundarik came from Chattagram to Navadvip. Gadadhar went to see him with Mukunda. They found him seated like a prince, wearing silken clothes on a bed covered with the milk-white bedsheet. Big pillows were placed on either side and on his back. His long hair was oiled and combed very properly. Even the oil filled the room with a very delicate fragrance. There was a golden betel nut box placed by his side, and he was chewing betel nuts, which is a slight intoxicant. On either side stood servants fanning him with fans of peacock feathers. He received both guests with reverence and made them sit close to him. He knew Mukunda because he was also from Chattagram. Therefore, Pundarik asked Mukunda to introduce Gadadhar to him. Gadadhar was only 22 years old at this time. He was not only handsome, his face was radiant with the supernatural luster of bhakti. Therefore, Vidyanidhi kept gazing at him for some time. But as Gadadhar looked at him, he felt disappointed and disillusioned. He said to himself, is he a devotee or the very image of worldliness and sensuousness? He said to Mukunda, Mukunda, you shouldn't have brought me here. Mukunda laughed within himself. To invoke Vidyanidhi's true self before Gadadhar, he repeated in melodious voice the following shloka of Bhagavatam. You know the one? Yeah. Aho bakiyam stanakana kutam Stanakala kutam jigangsa yapai hiriyo jasadvi lebe gatim datuchitam tatonyam kambadayadum shadanam vajema. Oh, who can be so kind as Krishna? Putana came to him with the nefarious purpose of killing him by making him suck at her breast, which was besmeared with a vicious poison. Yet, even though he killed her, he sucked out the poison along with her life, yet he gave her the same position after death in the spiritual world as he would to his wet nurse. To whose feet, therefore, should we surrender except his? In other words, just think about that a minute. Someone comes to kill you, you may be tolerant, and you may be transcendental. But are you going to be so kind to them that you welcome them into the spiritual world in a very intimate position? So Lord Krishna is showing his infinite mercy there. As soon as Vidyanidhi heard this verse, he fell unconscious on the ground. When he regained consciousness, he began to weep and wail, saying, "Ha, Krishna, my Lord, the soul of my soul, when will you show mercy to me? There's not a trace of bhakti in my heart. Will you therefore never show mercy to me?" As he wailed, he rolled on the ground. His clothes and hair were stained with dust. Upon seeing this, the fire of penitence began to burn in the heart of Gadadhar. Now, it doesn't mention it, but this went on for hours. Was it like 8 hours or something? It was hours and hours of this, which is quite amazing. If we're chanting, a little tear comes and says, "Oh, I'm going to be crying." Hare Krishna. On seeing this, so Gadadhar was like, "Oh, I made a big mistake." The fire of penitence. He hugged Mukunda close to his heart and said, "You have done me a great favor by bringing me to such a devotee. I committed a great offense by disrespecting him in my mind. I have now decided to take diksha from him so that he may forgive me by considering me as his own." As he was saying this, tears incessantly streamed out of Gadadhar's eyes. When Pundarik Vidyanidhi regained consciousness, he saw Gadadhar weeping. He locked him in his arms and began to wipe his tears. When Mukunda told him about his decision, Pundarik said, "It is a matter of great pride and satisfaction for me that he has taken this decision. This cannot be the fruit of any amount of good deeds performed by me in the past. It can only be due to the causeless mercy of Krishna." So he saw it as a great blessing that he was going to get Gadadhar. On the next Shukla Dvadashi day, Vidyanidhi gave initiation to Gadadhar Pandit. So, there's so much here that could be said, but I am still in the middle of my Vyasa Puja marathon, Vyasa Puja book. Have you seen the book that we put out every year called the Vyasa Puja book? Anyway, been doing it for how many years? 35 years? So it's just coming to fruition now, and I've got to go back and edit some more offerings. Vaisheshika Prabhu's offering, Bandita Raya Maharaj's offering, they came a little late, so I have to leave. But if you want to hear more pastimes, I've invited my friend Rajendranathana Prabhu to continue. I'm sure you could sit here for 6 hours and he would fill you with pastimes and you wouldn't even know the time passed. You wouldn't get hungry. But before we do that, I want to fulfill my statement, which I worked yesterday very hard to memorize that verse. This is a verse. What was the context? How did that come out? No, I know, but in the whose pastime was it heard? Yeah, but he was getting some complaints from his students. Right. Go back to teaching logic and grammar. Yeah. Then he heard the verse. Okay, so here's the verse. Now, I should do it without looking at the Sanskrit, but I'll read the English translation. Oh boy, now I'm nervous. Shamam Hiranya. Shamam Hiranya Padidim Vanamalya Barha Dhatu Pavala Nataveshanam Anuvesham Anuvatankse Vyatyasta Hastam Itarena Dunanam Abjam Karnot Palalaka Kapol Mukabjahasam. A little rough still. Got nervous. So this is the verse. This is describing when the Brahmins' wives went out with great eagerness, with all their tiffins packed with all kinds of wonderful prasadam for Krishna and Balaram, because they heard that they were nearby. Their husband performing these Vedic sacrifices, they were getting black from all the smoke and everything. And the boys, Krishna said, "Oh, we're so hungry." So Krishna said, "Oh, you go to the Brahmins and ask them for some prasadam. Don't mention my name. Mention Balaram, because the reason why is that Krishna was known as a Vaishya, So he said, well, you got a better chance with Balaram. Balaram was known to be the son of Vasudeva, it's a Kshatriya. So just mention Balaram's name. So the first thing they did when they went, they said, Krishna and Balaram are nearby. They didn't follow that instruction, if you like. So, but they wouldn't even answer them. They wouldn't even look up from their sacrifices, And anyway, so they went back disappointed. So Krishna and Balaram laughed and said, now you go to their wives. They're staying in that little house nearby. And you see what they say. They have some affection for us, you see. So as soon as they heard, they said, can you please give us some prasadam? They didn't want to hear about that. They were ready to go to take the prasadam. They wanted to deliver it. So they packed up all the best things that they had. You can imagine what great cooks they were. And they went out, and there they saw Krishna and Balaram, and this is the verse describing Krishna standing there. His complexion was dark blue, and his garment golden, wearing a peacock feather, colored minerals, sprigs of flower buds, and a garland of forest flowers and leaves. He was just like a dramatic dancer. He rested one hand upon the shoulder of a friend, and with the other hand he twirled a lotus. Lilies graced his ears, his hair hung down over his cheeks, and his lotus-like face was smiling. And when Lord Chaitanya heard that verse, he went into like total ecstasy. And how long did it last? Who knows, an hour. So it was obvious that he couldn't go back. He wasn't going to spend his time teaching logic and grammar. Everything had to be saturated with Krishna. And so, anyway, pastimes go on from there. So, I did memorize Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.